We're live.
Survivor specialist Phil and Alexa are back, and tonight we are joined by a very special guest, Phil's winner pick for Survivor Heroes vs. Healers vs. Hustlers, Elliott. She's joining us. Yeah, she killed me during the season, but here she is to tell us her side of the story, to tell us about how she almost went to more tribal councils than Mike, even though she was in the game so much shorter. So here we go.
Yeah, hi guys. How are you guys doing?
We're doing all right.
Doing pretty well.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm sorry about that. I definitely, that was not my, honestly, that was not my intention going into it. I obviously wanted to go a lot further, but having your support, it really meant a lot.
Well, thanks. Yeah, when meeting your mom and having her be like, "Oh, you picked her to win. I thought she was gonna win." I was like, "Oh my god, this is crazy. This is an out of body experience."
Well, and my mom's at work right now, and she's freaking out because she was like, "I love Phil and Alexa. I need to try and find the live stream so I can watch it." I was like, "You'll see it somewhere."
Oh my gosh, you got to send her the link.
Oh, I will for sure.
Well, if she's listening, shout out to Allie's mom now. Hi. All right. So I guess let's just talk about, you got to go to, how many tribal counts did you go to? 5 the entire time you were on the show?
I went to 4.
So it was 4. Okay. Because I talked to Ryan at the event when we were all there, and Ryan said that the smartest thing he did in the game was getting rid of you. So I want to hear about this Ryan-Allie relationship from a point of view that's not Ryan's.
I don't know. I mean, I think that I disagree with that. I think that I probably would have been a better person to work with moving forward. I don't know if him and Chrissy really did as much as I thought they were going to do after I was voted out. I thought, they were going to run the game. And they did make it to the end, which is great. But I just feel like he could have had, I don't know, maybe more of a hand in the game if me and him were together. I definitely did not see it coming, and I definitely don't think I would have, if I was in the game, would have gotten rid of Ryan anytime soon. I think I would have kept him for a long way because I thought that he was smart and he was not someone that I would have to worry about in challenges. And I just thought that he was, playing the game well. And so I guess, and for me being out there, I'm I wasn't doing anything that I thought was out of the ordinary. I was being myself. I was making relationships. And honestly, what I will say to the end, I was trying to take the easiest steps that I had to take to get to that merge. Because I'm the game doesn't start till the merge. You just have to get there. And so for me, everything that I did was logical in my head, but because I didn't know of the secrets and the things happening in the background, that's obviously what, ended up being my downfall.
And because it was something that was so out of your control, looking back, did you notice a shift in your relationship between when you guys were on the Hustler tribe together and then when you were on this new tribe with Chrissy and Roark and these new dynamics?
Yeah. So initially we were just really good friends. I think we called each other brother and sister because we would just laugh all the time. We were always off by ourselves, just joking about everything. And so we knew we had a good relationship at the Hustlers, or I thought that we had an okay relationship. And so then we went to the next tribe. I mean, obviously I wasn't scared of the swap because I knew I could make I could relate to people whether I had, numbers or not. So I think honestly, looking back, I probably would have been better if I was in a Lauren or a Devon situation being by myself than with a Ryan, But no, I mean, when we got to the Soko tribe, we kind of try to play it we weren't close. So we try to tell people that we didn't have this relationship, but when we would go together, we would say, okay, this is what we're doing. And I just find it bizarre. And I don't know, I haven't asked Ryan and I don't really care the answer, but why couldn't he have told me about the super idol? He could have had both Chrissy and me, but instead he kept JP, who was Chrissy's right-hand man, but I was his right-hand man. So it still doesn't really make sense to me because he could have had his cake and ate it too, but, he decided to do what he did.
Well, and that's what I was saying after you got voted out. I mean, it worked. Ryan did get all the way to the end, so I guess it worked for him in some way. But what I was saying after you got voted out was hold it into Chrissy's hands there and said, okay, we'll take JP and we'll get rid of Allie. if he gets rid of JP there, I feel like him and Chrissy are probably still going to be tight because I mean, maybe you can help us out with the Chrissy JP relationship, but then he also has you. So he's keeping himself with both his options open, where by getting rid of you, he only had Chrissy, which really hurt his game down the line.
Well, yeah. And I don't think that, I mean, from my view, JP and Ryan were not close at all. I mean, I think he tried to say that at one point JP was a close ally, but I mean, I don't think so. The way I looked at JP was I couldn't talk to him because I just thought he was, you know, so consumed with Chrissy, and that was that, you know. So even when I knew I was on the outs, I was like, I still, and maybe that's my only regret, is I didn't go to JP and say, hey, you know, let's try to flip this. But no, I just, it's interesting why he decided to do that. And I gave Ryan all the props from the beginning of the game. I said that he was running the game. He was the one who picked Chrissy. He gave her the idol. He saved her in the Roark vote. And then when the merge hit, Chrissy took over the game. And not maybe as much socially, but she won 4 immunities. And so I don't think that he expected that. I don't think I would have beat Chrissy in those puzzle challenges. I know I would have been competitive in some of them, but the way that she kind of destroyed the second half of the game, it made his game, and people forget about the pre-merge. People forget about all the things that he did do to get where he was, but he didn't. His game definitely fell off at the end.
Well, and I think his biggest problem is everybody that he worked that saw his moves pre-merge was gone.
Yeah,
it was you and Roark are gone. All he has is JP and Chrissy, who really saw those moves. JP's on the jury yeah, and like Chrissy's not gonna give him credit, that's for sure. Yeah, so that's I mean, it was interesting watching it play out from the Hustler Beach to that, because I was like, oh great. As soon as that tribe swap happened, I said, perfect. Allie hit the merge. This is great. Ryan, Allie, Chrissy, there's the final 3.
Easy. Because I knew in my head, so we all have like, when you're out there, you have like, okay, we're probably going to go to 2 or 3 tribals in our new tribes, and then we'll make the merge. So I'm thinking, I only need 3 people. There was no way in my head that I was going to work with a hero. No way. I was just not going to do it unless Ryan came to me and said, hey, I already have this pre-established relationship with Chrissy. I would have been like, you know what, forget that. Because my motto going in was anybody but me. So if he would have said Roark, I would have said, okay, that's fine. I trust you. So, you know, going into that, I'm thinking we just need to win 1. Because I was like, if we lose 2, there's Chrissy and there's JP, and we made it. And so when we win the first one, I was looking at them and I was like, we're golden. Like, we're set. Until, and then even like after being out of the game and like I still knew nothing until the show played back about the Super Idol, I still was like, what was he thinking? You know, and even for people to like see the Super Idol and say that, I'm like, I don't know. I want to know deep down in Ryan's head if he actually regrets that or if, you know, he still sticks with that decision.
So you really didn't know about the Super Idol until you saw it on TV?
I mean, I had heard about it from, you know, the game's over, people talk, and, you know, and I had heard that, you know, people were like, oh, well, you end up getting, you know, screwed a little bit, but I wouldn't say it was screwed. I would just say it was unfortunate. Yeah, I had no idea that he had anything, and but there's times where looking back now, obviously hindsight, I feel like Ryan had a tell and I knew something was up, but I just figured maybe he was just nervous about the vote, or maybe he was just, you know, I don't know. But I think looking back, I should have probably read into some hints he was giving.
Yeah. So why do you think Ryan took that relationship with Chrissy, the one where he gives an idol to somebody and then it seems like that relationship is just so much more meaningful? I know we're asking you all these questions about Ryan right now, but I mean, you guys seem so close, and then all of a sudden the swap hits and it's like, well, the girl that I just worked with for 2 votes, I'm now going to side with the girl who I gave an idol to. Did you feel that at all, or was that just kind of like out of nowhere?
No, I feel that because a lot of the game, and I think I've even said this at Tribal, is you don't understand, or you don't know what trust is until you have to be on the same side of the vote as somebody. So like people are saying, oh, you know, people will tell me all the time, they'll see me and say, oh, you trusted Ryan too much. But I'm like, but I was on the same side of 2 votes. Yeah, they made a, you know, not seem like they were that big of votes because it's that early in the game, but it's still the same side. So, you know, we talked about who we were voting for going into every single vote and why would that change? You know, I had no hints, you know, going into it for real, like that he would flip. And so even though he did give her the Super Idol, I think the only thing that Ryan was thinking was that my social game was much stronger than Chrissy's. And so that he was more afraid, I guess. I don't like to give myself that many props because I'm like, I feel like I didn't do much. But I think he was more afraid that I would go into the merge, which was my goal, that, you know, if he would have kept me after that Roark vote of leaving me out, of course I would have turned on him and voted him out the very next second. I still have to ask him if he threw my through that challenge that he actually that made me go home, because
I was curious about that. I was curious about that.
I mean, because it's an easy challenge to throw. And so like, even like, it sucks because as we were doing the challenge, I kind of figured out like, you need your strong people on the outsides. And so I asked Jeff, I was like, can we switch? And he was like, nope. And I was like, well, we're never going to
win. And that's what I find so interesting too, is that tribe had JP, who was arguably the strongest male, and then Chrissy, who wins 4 challenges, and you guys lost 2 out of the 3 challenges there.
Well, and I don't want to like bash Ryan to this, but me and Ryan have actually talked about this. But it's like with our tribes, like we were always so uneven, and I always had Ryan on my tribe, and Ryan didn't count as like one of the strong males. He didn't count as even a strong female, I guess I could say, because it's like he was always on my tribe. So, and then for us to get 3 girls and 2 guys and Ryan be one of those guys, I knew we were going to lose again. So that's why I knew, I was like, we only have to win 1. And so when we won the puzzle, I was like, thank God, the next 2 are probably going to be strength. But like looking at who was it? Ben and Cole. I mean, just to have those 2 guys together, I never had 2 legitimate strong guys. I mean, even going back to the beginning of the Hustlers, Patrick and Devon and Ryan being our 3 guys compared to what are the heroes? Fireman, an NFL player, and a Marine? Like, what are our chances?
Yeah, when you word it like that, it's a little uneven.
Yeah, a little.
So were you absolutely shocked when you guys actually won the first challenge then? Or
oh my God. I mean, they didn't even show. I was like crying because I was like, after you guys saw us paddling backwards.
Yeah.
We were out there for a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
We started saying like, we should just go back and get the food because we're obviously not going to get the fire. No, like we knew we were like literally the misfits. That's what we called ourselves around camp. And so when we won that first immunity, it was honestly like a gift from God, because we thought we were just down and out pretty much. And so I literally cried after we won the first one, because I was like, thank God we're not going to lose every single trial. And then we just lost like a whole bunch after that. But,
oh my gosh. So I guess in a similar vein, so when you're on that boat at the very beginning and like Jeff is asking you guys like what you do and stuff, what was your first impression of your tribe? And you realized that you were with like those 5 people wearing the same color as you?
Well, yeah, it's as soon as like, because you're trying to figure out, okay, who's wearing what color? Because at one point I was like, okay, Cole's in like a cream. Is he with us? And so once they like kind of grouped us together, I was like, what the heck did I get dealt with? You know, I'm like, okay, I wouldn't call myself a dumb person, but I'm not the smartest. So when we all got to like sit down and talk, I was like, okay, you know, Simone's brilliant, you can tell, but like we didn't have a puzzle person. You know, you saw us fail miserably at the, you know, sign challenge because we just didn't have anybody that could put 2 and 2 together. And then even when it came to strength, I was like, we still are on the low end there too. So I really would love to see like who put like the names like in casting together and was like, yes, perfect. Because I'd be like, there's some issues there.
You guys are the Hustlers. They had to make you the complete underdogs on top of that, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, it's funny too, because like then you looked at the healer tribe. Sorry, I like lost it there. But like they had Dr. Mike, who was like, okay, he's gonna be the first person booted when that tribe loses. But then like the more you look at that tribe, it's like, are they ever gonna lose? Are they ever gonna lose? Because they have Cole, they have Joe, they have Desi. I don't know, how was Roark in challenges?
She was very smart, and she was when she was with us, she was just kind of the person that always worked as hard as they could. So she was, I mean, the healers were set. I don't know how, and I wish they would have thrown a challenge because I probably would have made it further if I made it through another tribal. But no, they were set. They were definitely, and it was just, they had every strength, which was odd because you looked at them and you're like, okay, they're going to do well, but you didn't know they were going to devour every challenge.
Yeah, that potential throne challenge. I mean, we've heard about that in tons of exit interviews and like talking to you and talking to Joe last week. I mean, that could have changed the entire trajectory of the game.
Oh, yeah, because, you know, even if they would have thrown a challenge, even if they would have thrown, obviously I think about the game a lot, even though it's already over and all these, you know, coulda, woulda, shouldas. But even if somehow they would have, like the red team, because we kept saying after we had did the tribe swap, the new Yawa, they should have thrown one. You have 3 healers over there. You know that Roark's alone. And you see she makes the first, the first tribal out. The second one, you should have thrown that with the ball maze. That one should have been an easy throw. You have 3 people. You vote out either Lauren or you vote out Ben. And it easily, if they would have lost the challenge that I went home, I would have flipped and gone with Lauren and would have gone with all the healers and said, we're getting rid of, Ryan, and that's that. But if there's so many things that go through your head afterwards, you're like, if I could have just made one more tribal, if like we could have just got one more block on there, the whole thing would have been different.
Do you think that were the other healers like close enough with Roark, or because we didn't get much of Roark out there at all? So it was interesting when like the 2 of you paired up, because we did get for as short of a time as you were on the island, we got a lot from you. You were kind of like the narrator of the pre-merge.
Yeah.
So it was like weird. Like then you pair up with Roark, who we like knew nothing about. Yeah. Did she have like any relationships on the healers that could have led to them actually being like, we'll throw this challenge to make sure Roark stays or anything?
Well, she had actually given us she gave me a lot of information, and that's kind of why I felt like, okay, even if I am a bottom of a healer, at least I'm there, at least. And it sounded like there were cracks, because what Roark had told me was initially that she was close with Cole and she was really close with Desi. And so her and Cole had talked about throwing a challenge pre-swap. And so they had talked about throwing the block challenge, which is where Patrick went home. And so they said they had brought it up because they knew there was, strife a little bit amongst camp. They knew that because Cole told everyone that Joe had an idol. I knew right off the bat that Joe had an idol. And so they were going to throw it there. So me talking with Roark at the new Soko, I was like, easily, she had more pull to me than the heroes. I didn't want to be a part of, what the hero. I don't know. I just didn't get along with them as quickly as I got along with Roark. And it just didn't make sense to me again with the numbers. I'm like, we have 2 people, we need 1 person, and that's all we need, to vote out the other 2. But she definitely had a lot of pull, I thought, that she had within the healers, and that I thought that was going to benefit me once we got to the merge.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because it seemed like the healers were kind of being set up to like go deep. It seemed like everybody was being set up to go deep in the game actually didn't go that deep in the game, which made the season kind of weird. Like when Jessica got booted at the merge and also wasn't on the jury, I really didn't even know what was going on at that point. Yeah. So it was how like the people that you kind of like saw early on, but then we saw that like Roark and Chrissy conversation. That's what it was always like.
And that's the funny thing is that a lot of stuff you could say, oh, was it edited that way? That situation right there was not. Chrissy came up to me day one, and maybe I kind of, I don't know, I was taken back by Chrissy because she came up to day one and was like, I really like you. And I thought that she, was someone that I could work with and just keep somebody like in the back of my head. Like if something flips around, I can go with Chrissy. Well, she was kind of like, we have to get rid of Roark. We have to get rid of Roark right off the back. And I was like, well, what's the deal? Why can't we think about it? And in my head, I'm still thinking short term. I'm thinking if we get rid of Roark, we still have 2 and 2. And I knew she was never going to get rid of JP. So it just didn't make me feel comfortable. And so Roark did tell me that right before we went to that tribal that she came up to me and was kind of like, oh, we need to work together. But it was like, it was odd. I think that she, and that's the thing with Chrissy. And I don't wouldn't want to say it's her age. It could just be the way that you react with people or your social experiences, but she just didn't understand that part of the game as well as she understood other parts of the game. So like socially, you have to understand that people are paying attention to everything. And you can't just treat someone like, okay, I'm going to talk to you now just because we're in a tribal. And that for her happened in that instance. And and I don't know, it's just a bizarre thing for us to only be together for 4 days. And it seemed like there was a whole bunch of, hoopla going on.
Yeah. It's like months of whatever.
Right?
But so go ahead, Alexa.
So you had, like you said a couple times now that Chrissy and JP were never going to break up. Was that something that like she had explicitly said or was more implied? Because we, as well as many other viewers, don't really know what to make of JP. And so like if you could tell a little bit about like what living with him was like, what potentially working with him was like what was his relationship with Chrissy, and like how do you think it got so strong?
Yeah, well, it seemed like, I don't know, they were just oddly close, and it seemed that I don't want to say like a mother-son relationship, but almost, because when they came in, they didn't even try to hide that they were close. They, every time they did something, it was, hey, JP, can you help me? Every time we slept, it was JP next to Chrissy. Every time, it was just them together. And so for me, it was kind of shocking because it didn't seem like JP would fall into that role. JP seems like even though he didn't appear that way on TV, he's got his own thoughts and stuff like that. But he
that's good. That's good.
I caught her. No, but I don't think that he was playing, and this is I've said about JP before. JP would win like a show like Naked and Afraid. JP finds the logwood, he finds, he starts the fire, he cooks the food, he cuts open the coconut. He is your survivor to just survive. But when it came to the game, I don't think that he really understood the game that well. So he went with Chrissy because it was comfortable. I think that if I would have thought back and really understood that situation, like hindsight, I could have gotten to JP's head and said, hey, JP, come with us. This is how we play the game, and to make a real move. And I never brought anything up like that to JP, where I think that if he would have had the chance to think deeper into something, he may have done, he may have turned on her. But just looking at him, you just look at him as, her little minion. And that's all I saw him as.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that's why Ryan ended up just going with them? Because he was like, he figured he could just walk all over them the whole time, or?
I still don't know. I mean, I think that you try to pick, and this sounds bad, but you try to pick people in the game that are predictable. And so that's even why that off the bat, I'm like, it was hard to work with Patrick because he was not predictable. I never knew what he was going to do or say, or, if he could slip up or say something stupid. And so I think that with me, I probably had a deeper thought process than JP. So I don't think Ryan thought he could control me like he could control JP and Chrissy.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Could you go into the like hustlers' relationships a bit? Because I know that you, like, at first you and Patrick kind of, for reasons that we have since learned, hit it off. Like you and Ryan seem to have a really good working relationship. Like Patrick and Lauren, there were a lot of different relationships going on there, and I think we really liked watching your tribe.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot going on. I think we had a good time. A lot of the time we would just laugh and hang out and whatever. But I think from the get-go, I mean, as you can tell, Simone was really on the outs. And it was just because socially, I think that she didn't understand things that she was saying were rubbing people the wrong way, or things that, I don't know, just like social conversation at times she would get on Lauren's nerves because she was kind of prying too much into her life, and Lauren's a very private person, and so that's kind of where that relationship was. I got really close with Lauren from the beginning because she just seemed like someone you could trust. And it was very odd for me because you look at me and Lauren and we come from two different lives completely, and I never saw that coming. But the more she opened up, she's like actually like the funniest person I know, and like we actually got along really well. But at the beginning of the game, what I assumed was it was me and Patrick and Ryan and Devon that had made like this 4 alliance, and that's what it was. And I wanted to take Patrick as far as I could until obviously we kept losing. That didn't help. And he just was all over the place. So even they show him being wild and crazy, which was, some of it was a little much, but most of the part was true. And so that's why people were like, well, how could you turn on Patrick? And I'm like, I didn't want to, but I wasn't the one who said his name. Somebody said, we're voting Patrick. And for me, I'm like, I said going into it, as long as it's not me. And I felt like I had built relationships with other people that I was like, I don't really need Patrick that much anymore, and to me, the secret would die because I didn't want people knowing that I knew Patrick. But yeah, I would say that I got along pretty well. And at one point they didn't even show it. I felt like I was close with Devon out of everybody on that tribe. And which I think showing that would have made him, whether I mean, that obviously wasn't true or not, but it would have made him look like a better game player as well. Because at one point he was like, yeah, Allie, you're my number one. And I was like, okay. I mean, because he was a lot like, and they didn't show like Devon really play the game until the second half of the show. But definitely he did play, you know, a huge part in that Hustler tribe.
Okay. And why do you think they didn't show anything between you and Lauren? Like, they didn't show anything, really.
Well, they did briefly when Patrick went home, but I don't know. I mean, I think that maybe I was just meddling in everybody's thing, so they tried to show me, I mean, and there's only, what, like 45 minutes? They try to show me, like, a little bit with everybody. But, yeah, they kind of hyped up my relationship with Simone to seem like it was more than what it was. You know, that was never really gonna happen.
Well, it became every time you were at the water well with someone, that person went home.
Right? Like, well, I just should have stopped getting water. I don't know.
Right. The one time you went alone, there was nobody else to be there.
And that's when you go home.
No, it's me.
So when Patrick went home, we were like led to believe in the episode that it was really tight between like Patrick and Lauren. Was there ever a chance that Lauren was going to go home, or did they?
There was a chance that Lauren was going to go home. I would say if we had voted 2 days before that, she would have gone home. But because you're together 24 hours of a day, it's crazy how bonds can grow so quickly and like bonds could fade so quickly. So my relationship with Patrick literally changed in 2 days because, you know, Lauren. And looking back, I've talked with Lauren and Patrick, we would say, you know, if Patrick didn't get on Lauren's nerves so much, us three could have voted together and voted out Ryan right then and there, because that would have been our next, you know, move. But because Patrick was just getting on Lauren's nerves so bad, neither of them could have ever thought of working together. And so it kind of made it the choice between them because they had so much, you know, strife going on. And so, yeah, I don't really know why they didn't, you know, show Lauren as much in that, us being together, but it definitely happened over like a span of 2 days. And and I felt that she trusted me because I was kind of her connection to Ryan and Devon in the end.
Yeah. And then, so if they showed like, if it was between Patrick and Lauren, obviously Lauren was never going to work with Patrick, but who else did Patrick like really annoy that got the vote to switch? Was it like just you, or were like Ryan and Devon also just like, this is too much?
Well, I can't remember who said, because it wasn't Lauren. It was one of the boys, because I felt like I was closer to the boys than I was even to Lauren. And so I want to say it was both of, it was probably mostly Ryan. I think Ryan really wanted to get rid of me then. But I didn't know that. But I think it was honestly Ryan. But Patrick, oh my gosh, he was and that's the thing is like sometimes when you just don't know the game that well, he was so entirely and still to this day is so obsessed with Ryan. He never saw it coming. And that's why even they show when like Patrick ends up leaving at Tribal and Ryan was like, I swore I thought he was gonna punch me because it was like Patrick's heart being broken. Like that's how it was that Ryan turned on him. And I have to say this. Well, what they didn't show was that so at Tribal, because it was he went home with 4 votes and they only show 3 because that's all you needed to show. So Patrick, because he doesn't watch the show, he didn't understand that I was the one that voted for him because he only showed 3.
No.
He thought it was just Ryan, Devon, and Lauren. So then he gets up and goes to like get his torch snuffed and turns around and comes back and gives me a hug goodbye.
Oh my God.
And so I just sit down and I'm like smiling, like this kid doesn't understand that. My vote's in the box still. But yeah, and then turns around and walks out. And I was just like, and so we went back to camp and I'm thinking, what the heck are they going to think? Like, why did he give Allie a hug? Mm-hmm. So Brian was like, Allie, we voted out 2 people and you've got a hug from both of them while walking out. So it was definitely not a good look. I just had to play dumb.
You had to start being mean to keep people going.
Right.
How did that first conversation with Patrick go where you had to sit him down and be like, hey, I actually voted you out? Well,
I think that maybe he didn't understand that when I got to Ponderosa, but he was still so mad. And for someone like me, knowing that, you know, I knew the game, and of course I was mad that I was out, but I just like I ate it up because I was like, you being mad about this still, and you've been out now for 8 days, and now you see me, I'm like, and you're still mad. I loved it. I don't know.
The little victory there, right? Like,
yeah.
It is kind of, at least from like a viewer, it was kind of refreshing to have someone with like a really angry reaction, because like on a show with so many super fans, like everyone's like, ah, man, you got me, like pat on the back, and he was just pissed.
Yes, yeah, right. And I thought that I would just cry when I was voted out.
And I know you didn't get really to talk to him, but what would have happened if Patrick and Cole would have been on the island together?
Oh, man. I think a whole mess. It would have just been a hot mess. I mean, even when they hang out now, they're just all over the place, and they would just be hyping each other up to just do dumb stuff. I know that's all it would have been. I mean, I think that, it would have been, Cole, what he was doing by himself, it would have been that times two, like stealing food and just because anytime there was a camera or something that would come by, Patrick was like waving the machete, running up and down the beach. Like, it's all about camera time. And I'm like, dude, they're just always around us. You don't have to do anything and the camera will get you. Like, don't worry about it.
Like, that's their job. It's their job.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I would have loved to have seen that then. Now I really wish. I feel like we had and they could have had like fireside chats every night to tell the whole tribe all the secrets they heard that day.
Oh
like,
my
God. Exactly. It would have been crazy.
And then JP's the moderator. This is great.
Well, and that's one thing that, even for Patrick to go home the day before the swap, I was sitting there like, thank God, because even though I don't know if I would have been able to trust him if we got swapped to different tribes, but I was just so scared that if he went somewhere else and I wasn't able to watch him, that he would have said something to somebody about us knowing each other.
Yeah. So he never said it though on the original Hustler Tribe?
No, he never said it. We did like, it was always me and him going to Tree Mail, and there was a lot of us talking about Auburn and stuff, but I guess it wasn't worth the edits. But yeah, I did end up telling Ryan though that I knew Patrick after I was voted out, or no, after Roark was voted out. And so I told him, because I was like, you thought that, because the excuse that he was giving, and I was like, that's not, he kept saying that, the reason why you turned on me, obviously you can say it was, I have a super idol and I gave it to Chrissy. He was like, oh, you just trusted Roark too much. And I was like, I knew the girl for 4 days. I was like, I trust her that much. I said, this is what you said you wanted to do. I said, I asked you who you wanted to vote for, and you said Roark. And so that's why I was like, I don't understand, like, this lie is not good enough for me. And that's why I knew something was up, because I was like, this does not make sense. And so in the end, I was just, trying to plead a case to anything to get, him to understand that, he could trust me. And I was like, you thought that I couldn't vote out a girl I knew for 4 days, and I voted out a guy I knew for 6 years. And he was like, what?
Oh, that's good.
He was just shocked, and I was like, and obviously it didn't help. It probably hurt my case. But
then you were good at lying about that.
Yeah, right? He's like, oh, I had no idea. Now she really has to go.
Yeah. Yeah. What were, like, other than Ryan, what were everyone's reactions to finding out that you and Patrick knew each other, like, significantly beforehand?
Well, people are like, no. Like, does production know? And I'm like, yeah. Because immediately, right when I saw him, I was like, is this redhead kid coming with us? And they were like, yep. And I was like, he's just not staying here? And they're like, no. And I was like, is this going to happen? Okay.
And they put you on the same tribe.
Well, yeah, and that was the crazy one.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, going into the game, I'm like worried about, him, while everybody else is just like worrying about food and worrying about shelter and worrying about, making friends. I'm worrying about a kid that's, been around for, a couple years. And I was just mostly worried about him not being on my same tribe at the beginning. Because I was, in Patrick's head, he could have thought that him telling somebody about this could be a trust thing, where he would have said, hey, me and Allie know each other, and I'm telling you this to build trust with you. And in the end, it would have, screwed us. So yeah, it was very bizarre.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, when you say worried about him, do you mean like what kind of game did you expect him to play? Did you know that he didn't watch? It sounds like he didn't really watch Survivor beforehand. Like, if you had it your way, would you have like ran with it as long as you could, or would you have kind of preferred to not be on the same tribe as him?
No, I definitely wanted to be on the same tribe, because I was just worried that, the way that they even perceived him, I know Patrick, and I knew how he was just kind of this goofball, and he kind of doesn't really have a filter at times, because even the moment that they show with, Patrick walking down to the beach after we say Lauren's going home, he goes up to Lauren and says, oh, you're going home. And it's like, dude, do you not know that, like, it makes it easier if they don't think it's them? Like, So it's just things like that where I don't think that him being on another tribe would have benefited me, because I feel like, you know, he could have just slipped up and said something.
And was there any part of you, because I've talked about this with like one of my friends who's a diehard Survivor fan. We always said, how cool would a season be if you show up, they don't tell you that somebody else you know is there, but everybody there knows somebody else on the island. But you don't.
That's what I thought. I was like, maybe everybody knows somebody.
And it's kind of like, who's the first one to say it? You know, like who's going to bring up like, oh, that's my friend from college, or oh, that's like my uncle or something. Like, who knows? But
and I think it depends on like your prior relationship. Where, you know, Patrick was always that goofy kid in college that you're like, oh, you know, who am I to Patrick? You know, but so I guess it just depends on like the prior relationship, because there's tons of people in the world that I would have picked to play this game with me, and I don't think Patrick's even close to the top of that list.
That's
and like that was your addition of blood versus water.
Right.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, so I'm trying to think, because Patrick and Ryan was like your story, but what was this whole Simone? I know you said that was never going to work. That was never going to happen. So somebody like Simone gets out there. Was she like, she wasn't very good at challenges. She wasn't doing anything really, but like, we never really get to talk like about the people who get booted like super early.
Yeah.
Did Simone ever have a chance or not really?
Well, there was at one point I had gone up to somebody because I knew that she could be loyal, but I knew that she knew the game. So I kind of felt that like at one point I wanted to take her under my wing and just say, hey, this is a vote, and I feel like she'll vote whichever way I want. But then in the back of my head, I was like, well, since she knows the game, I could see Simone as being one of those people that think that they have to do something, and she would flip and turn on me. And so in the end, I was like, you know, I think I brought it up to Devon, because she really liked Devon, and me and her got close because I was just trying to, you know, help her out there and support her. But I did bring it up to Devon and say, hey, Devon, like, do you think that we could use Simone if we got rid of somebody else? And I think in the end, we kind of outweighed our you know, the cons outweighed the pros, and it didn't really seem like it would work to benefit us.
Because that's what's interesting. Like, if it was old school Survivor, Simone and Ryan are your first two easy every time, just because of physical challenges. So it's funny, like Ryan sneaks by, or doesn't even really sneak by. Like, he made it happen.
But sneak by,
he gets by, and he goes all the way to final three. And then you have Simone, who never really had a chance to even, you know, couldn't make that one relationship like Ryan did to get herself past that first vote. So
well, and I think a lot of the game played more into Ryan's hands. And I mean, having that idol and being able to tell somebody about it from the get-go, I mean, he had that leverage with Devon. So Devon trusted him off the bat. Nobody else came to Devon with this kind of information. So Devon knew that he could trust Ryan. And so, and even with that, Ryan's social game was just way beyond everybody else's, you know? So even in that aspect, Ryan had, you know, things handed to him, not handed, but, you know, he came into the game with, you know, more to work with than Simone did.
And that's what it seemed like.
But the one
later
thing
in the
that
game
they never show is Ryan did nothing around camp. And so that's why even when they talked about it in like the final jury, I mean, man, I remember the first few days, you obviously like want to, you know, smile all the time, and you want to befriend everybody and work as hard as you can. And honestly, the Hustler camp never stopped working. We were always doing something. Lauren was like, you know, she was like, you know, the ringleader, trying to make sure that we were all in line and, you know, making sure we had water and food, whatever. But Ryan would just sit and watch and talk. And it was fine because he was giving us, you know, the humor. He was, you know, making light of situations. But at one point I was like, dude, is he ever going to do anything? And like, I'm like, I can't open coconuts, but I can, you know, try and do a palm prawn, or, you know, literally just try. Whether you succeeded or not, because a lot of the things I did probably didn't work, but at least it looked like I was trying, you know? But he definitely did just sit back and chill a lot of the time.
Well, and that, like, when it's him and Lauren, like, they seem like they would not get along at all. Did they get along like pretty well or no?
I don't think that, I never really saw them talk, really. And that's why it came down to it, where I knew that if I were able to get to the merge, that Lauren was going to trust me 100%, because I feel like I had a big hand in making her comfortable when Patrick went home, because at one point I pretty much told her, I was like, you have to act like you're the one who's going home because of this. I said, you just have to trust us. And she did. And because actually on that vote, Patrick was running rampant around camp looking for an idol. And Ryan was freaking out, like following him everywhere. And Ryan came up to me and was like, you know, Patrick is running crazy and I'm scared he's going to find an idol. And so at that moment I was like, Patrick, go sit in camp. You're making everybody paranoid. And Patrick sat in camp for the rest of the day. And so after that day, I knew that I had convinced Lauren that she could trust me further. And so I knew that if I had just got to that merge, that me and Lauren could have really done something.
Well,
so go ahead, Phil.
No, go ahead.
This one's pretty quick. So when Patrick's running around looking for this idol, was he doing that because he thought he was going home, or was he doing that because he was just looking for one?
I think that's when watching Survivor, I think that's the one key that he got to the game. Like, okay, there's idols out here, which we all understand, but it's a lot harder to find than you think. I mean, we all looked in packs, you know, at times, because we're like, at least if somebody has it. But no, he got it so annoying every time somebody would walk away from camp to go to the bathroom or walk away to go, you know, get some water. He would come back and be like, okay, so where'd you hide the idol? And it's like, repeatedly for 8 days straight, like people are going to get annoyed. And so he was just kind of, I don't think he had any idea he was going home. I just think it was Patrick thinking I need to find an idol. And he claimed he was going to give me the idol if he found it, but that would be wrong.
Wow. That would have been cool.
That was after the fact. I did not know that before the fact.
Otherwise, he would have been out there looking for idols.
I got a search party.
Yeah, like, all right, Patrick, you go out there. You go out there. I'm going to hang at home.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's funny because at the whole season, I kept saying a woman's going to win this season, a woman's going to win this season, a woman's going to win this season. The way Jessica just ran all over Cole, the way Chrissy just ran all over JP, and the way now we're hearing what you did with Patrick here, where it's like, Patrick, go sit back at camp. And he does. And so it was like interesting that like this happens so often, then like Ben still ends up winning the season, but I just felt like the women on this season were like more set up, but then they kept aligning with people that they could tell what to do, but also like Cole had the biggest mouth of all time. Patrick just couldn't, you know, hang together for a little bit longer. And JP, I mean, the funniest scene of the season to me is when Chrissy just walks up to JP and says, Roark said Girls Alliance. He's like, oh, she's got to go home. Okay. Like, instant.
Yeah. Yep, pretty much. I don't know why that is. I mean, I think that maybe because we are women that we stand out more than a man doing it. So when people see a woman, you know, speaking out, you know, or making decisions, they're more threatened than if a man was doing it. And so they think you have to go home right now, where a man, they're like, oh, you can hang around and then I'll get you out eventually.
Yeah, it's funny because like somebody like Ryan's probably looking at that like, oh my God, this is so bad. But then like it's just hilarious how it happened so often throughout the season. It was just instant. Yep. I mean, that Chrissy JP thing, I to this day I can't get over it because that was just the ultimate JP moment.
Well, that explained exactly how I felt, because I was like, anything she says, it's gonna go with him, and that's why I never even gave it a chance. And I wonder if he would have even listened. You know. Well,
it seemed like he wasn't really listening to anybody. Like the entire, like it seemed like it was just Chrissy. Like I don't know, did you find that JP was really like building relationships with people, at least for the time you were with him, or not really?
No, I mean the time that we talked to him was about LA, or it was about, you know, what he liked to eat. I mean, we played a lot of, you know, get to know you games, and so it was never about the game. I think at one point JP was like, "What do you think we should do?" And I was like, "Oh, well, you know, I think that, you know." Maybe I said stay strong, or because I was like trying to get, and he was like, yeah, I think that we should keep the strong people. And so looking back then, I was like, was he hinting at getting rid of Ryan? You know, so should that have, but at that moment, I'm like, that didn't make sense for me because Ryan was my closest ally. And, you know, and so there's just a lot that plays into it. But like, you think about people's comments later on, and you're like, should I have done something there? Or, you know, I don't know. That was the only strategic thing I heard from JP the whole entire game. We need to stay strong. What does that mean?
Yeah. What was your opinion on the tri-tip salad and beach date?
Yeah, I think that JP's actually like a good guy. I think that, I think he put a lot of thought into it. I think that, you know, he seems like a sweet guy. But I don't know if I would go on a tri-tip salad date.
I just thought it was funny how he was so adamant, like, no, it has to be a tri-tip salad, or like whatever, like, it had to be that.
That's it.
He's tested. You know, it's a fail-safe test.
There you go. It's been proven time and time. So I'm trying to think. Who did we not talk about who was like somebody like that you don't think got like a fair share? Those people who went early that like did something cool or that should have gotten a little bit more, because we saw like the bigger personalities, but
yeah. I would say like we said, I don't think Roark got much airtime at all. I think that because she knew the game so well that maybe the show thought it was boring, because, you know, all of her thoughts were kind of just straightforward and they kind of just made sense. But her being on that first like winning team, they were never shown because they never went to tribal. And then for her to get with us, you know, we won once and then she goes home, you know? So I think that they didn't really show much of her because it was never really proven if anything she said actually worked, because she just went home, you know? But I do think that she understood the game really well, and I just wish that she could have convinced people like she had, because I guess her and Cole had said, you know, they were going to throw a challenge, and I wish, you know, when they forgot the one block on that thing, you know, I always think about, I'm like, I wanted to go over and knock the block down. Like, what would they have done there? Like, pause.
That would have been good. That would have been fun.
Right? Like, I get so heated because I'm so competitive, and so I was like, I just want to go knock them down, but I was like, no, I can't do that.
I mean, you're allowed to. I mean, if you're doing a puzzle, you're allowed to look at what the person next to you is doing.
Yeah,
so you can interact with the person with you.
Well, and that's what we were doing when we had lost the sign thing. We were staring at the healers, and Devon was like, "No, pay attention to ours," and I was like, "And that's why we lose." You know, because the heroes just copied the healers completely, and I was like, "Oh, we could have won, but whatever."
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can blame Will for that puzzle. That was you know.
Oh yeah, he told me. I was like, "That sucks." And so when I asked him about it, he was like, "Yeah, it's trial and error." And I was like, seriously? My idea was laying them out by size and then putting them up by, I don't know if that would have worked, but I wanted to see like the biggest and the smallest and then put them up. But Simone was like, it's just trial and error. And we got down to one thing that didn't fit.
I like that was Will's response to you. Like the arrogant, that's exactly how Will would say it to me too. So I love that that's exactly what he said to you.
Like,
too.
Forget it.
Like, come on, Elliott, just keep trying.
Right? I was like, I did. We had such a big lead too. It was sad.
Oh man. So you said that you and Devon had like a fairly close relationship that we didn't really see. Did you or anyone else know the extent of Devon and Ryan's relationship? Because they were kind of the power couple, for lack of a better term, on your tribe.
Yeah, I knew they were close. I didn't know they were that close. So I knew that every time one of them said something, the other one just automatically agreed. They didn't really seem like they were ever not on the same page. So that kind of made me, you know, think about it a lot. But I never thought that it was something that I really had to worry about that early in the game. Especially because we had so many options of people to leave.
Yeah. And how was Devon? Like I guess like you've talked about Devon a little bit, but how was Devon like in terms of like most of the people on the jury don't seem like they would have voted for Devon to win, which I was kind of surprised at had he got to the end. So how was what was your take on Devon? I know you said he was kind of doing some stuff behind the scenes, but
yeah, I think that he definitely understands the game and he knew what he had to do to get, you know, where he got. But I don't think it stood out as making really any moves. I think that the healers, I mean, when the heroes and the hustlers teamed up after the merge, nobody really did anything. It was just kind of like, we have now the majority until the JP vote, and that was, you know, still a silly vote to me. I'm like, why would you pick him at everybody? But like, you could have got rid of anybody. I'm pretty sure Chrissy didn't have an idol then. I mean, they needed to pick somebody that was actually running the game, and I think that, you know, they're throwing out JP. It didn't make sense. If JP would have gone to the end, it would have been the easiest win, and just because JP was just there. But yeah, with Devon, I don't know. I think that because he's just such a mellow guy, and he doesn't always say the brightest thing, that people don't look at him as like this threat, and people don't look at him as really doing as much as, you know, he did. And in the end, he turned out, he looked to be a great player, but I still don't think he would beat Chrissy at the end.
You don't think he would have? Yeah, because that's that. No. We just talked to Joe, and that's kind of what Joe said. I mean, Joe thinks that Devon's like whole move of like telling Ben to fake it was like the worst move in like the history of the game. Like Joe was just ripping that apart, like the wwhole time.
And so. Phil and I were meekly like, we kind of liked that move.
I thought it was great, but I wasn't out there.
Yeah,
you liked it.
I mean, I think that Devon, his just moves weren't big enough, and I think that because he didn't win any challenges, because, he just didn't stand out as much as, sorry, it's just my cabinet. You find anything? Okay. Yeah, I just think that he didn't stand out, as much as Chrissy did because she won all those immunities. And I think that if Chrissy would have got to the end with Ryan and Devon, Chrissy should have been the winner. And I don't even know if she would have won because of the jury, because who was on the jury. I don't know if they would have voted for her. But having Joe say that, what I had said was that whoever Joe wants to win is going to win because he's going to make everybody think the same thing.
That's what we were saying. He was the king of Ponderosa, and he's running around telling everybody this or that. And he loved Ben's gameplay, and I think that really helped Ben pull it out near the end.
Well, and even from the edit, from the final tribal, he was like, I don't like what you said, Ben. I need you to really fight and show people that this is why you need to win, which I think in the end is what made Ben win. Because after he, kind of elaborated on what his game was and who he was and why he was out there, I think it drew me in just watching.
Well, and that's, I kind of want to know, like, when so you go out, you're the first person that we've had on here who went pre-merge. So it's like, we actually like haven't heard about like pre-merge stuff. When you go out pre-merging, you don't see the jury. Do you even like have any idea what happened the rest of the game? Or are you just like, going home to watch it? Like, do you have any clue?
Well, we would try and like pry into like our handlers and say, who went home or who went or like this or that. And we would kind of get like, we wouldn't get answers, but we would get like numbers. So we would number people and say, was it a number between this and that? And so I had this guess at the end of who went out where, and it was wrong, but it wasn't far off. So we get an idea of what's going on, but I don't think we're supposed to get any information. That's the reason why we go on this trip. Yeah, they give us as little amount as possible to keep us like, still thinking about the game.
Yeah,
I like this. So you're just like, okay, so Chrissy's 1, Ryan's 2, Ben's 3. And you just
we actually rated them. We actually rated people 5. Okay, so I was 6. We had one person coming out at 7, which ended up being Jessica. So we sat down and rated people by how much we would want them to be on the trip. So a 10 being, the best, and a 1 being the worst. So that's how we rated.
Oh man, this is juicy.
So
we need that secret ranking.
I'm not giving you the numbers. But that is how we ranked it to say, who do we want on this trip? And we're like, okay, this person's around that person's around that. And so when people would go out, we'd be like, so what number was it? And he would say, either a 1 or a 5. And so we have a lot of numbers for people. So we're like, oh, shoot, we don't know. But yeah,
oh my God, they must have been a field day with that.
Gosh,
that is awesome.
It was fun to guess.
This is gonna be like one of those like movies where it's like they discover all this stuff. We're gonna be able to post it on our website, the secret number rankings of where you all everybody on the trip wanted everybody on the trip. I'm telling you. That's really funny though, because I always wonder that, because like you go out there and like the people who hit the jury, you get this whole Ponderosa thing, and I know you go on a trip, but like it's always like at least the people who make the jury like know like okay.
Yeah,
Ben won.
Yeah,
and you're over here like, okay, just because the last thing I know.
Yeah, 3 weeks of living with these people that you just want to show it. It's a lot, guys. It's a lot.
Yeah. So you were with like a crew. Like, how was the trip?
It was fun. So we actually stayed in like this high rise in Brisbane. I mean, I felt like we lived like lavishly after being on an island like that. I mean, you get, I don't even know if I'm supposed to say all this stuff, but I don't really care.
Oh no, we gotta get you back on though, Allie. Don't spoil that.
No, I'm not. Like, they really treat you well. I mean, as soon as you get out, you get a massage, you get your nails done, you get, you just get pampered, which is great because you're like, wow, I had no idea. I mean, it's nice, and you kind of okay, yeah, you would expect it. But I mean, yeah, anytime. I mean, I got massages, and then when we were in Australia, and we're just like pretty much living the life. You're on 3 weeks of vacation, and you know, there's beaches and pools and parties, and yeah, it's a good time.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was fun. And that's why even like doing the show and people are like, oh, you didn't make the merge. But I'm like, in the end, I mean, I had a great experience. And then even going on this pre-merge trip, if I were to go on the pre-merge trip 6 times, it's still an amazing experience. You know, it still is like, yeah, obviously I love the game and I don't want to go on the pre-merge trip 6 times. It's still, if that's what you end up with, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, like, oh darn.
Yeah.
It does make a lot though, and I don't want to talk about like the little post-party thing too much, but it makes a lot more sense with some of the interactions I saw that's what the pre-merge trip was like, because there were like a couple people doing things at that post-merge thing where I was like, what? Like, why are they even like? Did they even talk to each other? And I'm like, oh yeah, they probably spent 3 weeks yelling at each other.
Yeah,
or whatever.
exactly.
But so that's really cool. I mean, that's like something that like you don't really get to like ever like hear about, because pretty much all the exit press is like, how miserable are you that you got voted out on day 3 or day 6?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. No, but they really
it's never like,
yeah, they take care of you, which is nice. And we were a good group where we all behaved and we had a great time and we got along. But 3 weeks is a long time. At the end of it, we were like, we don't want to see each other ever.
yeah. And then they also, I mean, I don't know if this was the first season that they did this, but you guys tested out a challenge for the merge, right?
I was still in the game when they did that, so I.
Oh man.
Yeah, but I did hear about it. And they actually did the challenge with, like, some of the people that work in casting and stuff like that. The people that work in Ponderosa, which was cool. I heard about it. I think it was the day that I was voted out, which sucked. But yeah.
Oh man.
Oh god.
Like that could have been cool, or you could have stayed in the game, like either or. Yeah.
I could have stayed in the game. That'd been nice.
Yeah, right. So now you're yelling at Ryan, why didn't you vote me out before Roark, damn it? Come on.
Right?
Yeah, get me out earlier.
Right.
That's pretty funny.
Man.
I'm trying. I had something in my head and it just completely went away because now I'm distracted by that.
I guess in the meantime, I mean, we love hearing about stuff that we didn't get to see on TV, and you gave us a couple like good tidbits. But is there anything that we missed or that we weren't shown that was either like hilarious or groundbreaking, or like you're screaming at your TV like, no, I didn't say it like that. They just they twisted my words. Like, let us know what you think about that.
Yeah, no, I think that one thing that a lot of people don't know, and this is the first thing I could think of, was when Chrissy threw up after that first challenge, we were gone. We did not see that. So that's one thing that people are like, oh, Ryan gave her the idol because she was, weak, or because she, looked like she needed it. No, we were gone. We had no idea.
Why did Ryan give it to Chrissy then? Why do you think he chose Chrissy?
Because they're both from New Jersey and he knew that. I'm just kidding. I don't know.
could sense the bagels.
Right? I'm like,
that's really
why
funny.
did he give it to her? I don't know. I think that, I've talked about this with a couple of people, and people are like, oh, well, if you would have found it, who would you have given it to? And I don't know. I think for sure he thought that it was going to be between 2 of the older women that were going home. So he probably wanted, he probably looked at Chrissy and thought that she was probably more on the same level as him than Katrina, and thought that if she were to use it, she would stay in the game longer than Katrina would, and it would be more beneficial. Which, I mean, to get swapped with somebody like that, the cards were in his favor, right? I'm like, and not in mine.
And how was Katrina? We saw literally zero of Katrina.
Literally nothing.
Well, and that's the thing, is that it made Chrissy look bad at the beginning. Because she didn't use it on her, but they weren't close. It was kind of the whole me and Simone situation where it made me look like I was sticking up for Simone and stuff like that, because you were, befriending that person in that moment. But Chrissy was never going to use it on Katrina. They weren't close. I think that Katrina, what I heard was that she was just kind of heavy on the game. So she came in right at the first second, was like, let's be an alliance. And I think that because she was the first boot, they left out a lot that would make her, look a certain way. They wanted her, to be perceived as well, because she was only there for 1 episode. But I think that she just came on too strong, which was the problem.
Yeah. And what did you think of like, I mean, you got to spend 3 weeks with Katrina, right? So what was Katrina like? Because we saw none of her personality. Like that was probably like the least we've almost probably like top 5 least we've ever seen of a player like ever. Like
Katrina's very, very funny. She's very outgoing, and she's always in vibrant, like bright colors, and she's very lively, and she's very much into like yoga and meditation. So out of all of us, she did room by herself, which was nice because she was, the oldest on the trip. But she was by herself for a lot. But there would be nights where we would go out, and Katrina is the best dancer I've ever seen. She's just a good time.
Oh, man.
Out there and dance. And even though she was older than us, she did not care. She wanted to be a part of it. She's definitely got a really great spirit.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, because it was a shame because it's like you had to show the cast. But like because it was only an hour, I think we got like one confessional from Trina. All we knew about Katrina was that, Chrissy didn't want to give her the idol. Like that's what we knew about her.
Well, yeah, and that's what's sad is that because I think that even if they would have shown stuff that wasn't good about Katrina, because it didn't even make sense. It just looked like they just picked Katrina. It didn't look like there was any real reasoning. When in fact there was, but they just didn't show. So I think that's that.
Yeah, and she was someone who
I got.
God.
Go ahead, Alexa. No, go ahead, because you're staying on Katrina. I'm about to run away, so go.
No, I was just about to say she seemed like someone, when you said like who has a really strong personality, so it's kind of a shame that we didn't get to see it.
Yeah, I think that people would have really enjoyed how outgoing she is and how funny she is.
Mm-hmm. So now I have to say because Joe only got to play with them for 3 days, and Joe and him obviously were just putting heads all the time. What was Alan Ball actually like? Because Alan, all we saw was crazy.
Yeah.
So how was Alan?
Well, that's the funny thing for me because not knowing Alan in the show and then being with him for 3 weeks, I got to know what I thought was the real Alan watching the show. And I was like, who is this guy? Because he did not come off that way at all. Alan's very mellow. He's very down to earth. He's a really cool guy, really funny. But he's not like that at all. Or, maybe I didn't see him that much in a competitive, light. And so maybe the crazy just comes on when he's on TV, or maybe the crazy just comes on when he's, feels threatened, or I don't know. But he was not like that at all. He was very chill. I think we played probably over 500 card games. No, he was very just down to earth.
It's good to hear because pretty much like Joe was like, I had to get that guy off this damn island like immediately.
Well, and I think that's the funny thing is because even Alan had said, he was like at that moment where Devon pulls out this thing, and we knew because the next challenge when we came back and we saw Alan gone, and we knew something went down at camp. So all of us knew, and we already had known that Joe had an idol, so we knew that he must have played it and something went down, but we had no idea about this whole Devon thing. And so Alan said his only thing is he wishes that when Devon pulled out this disadvantage, that he would have turned around and said, let's all vote Devon, because that would have been the easy thing to do.
Would have been easy.
He can't vote, but because Alan and Joe had this, fight, they couldn't look past that, and one of them had to go.
Yeah, and that was something that Alexa, I think we might have talked about it after that episode. We were saying Devon could have easily just went home there. If Joe and because Ashley, Alan, and Desi could have just teamed up and said we're getting rid of Devon, even if they didn't want to bring Joe and have him involved. But that is, what did you think? Because there weren't really any twists that affected you directly. I guess the Ryan Chrissy one really did, but it wasn't like you ever had one in your head.
It wasn't like I ever had one or I gave one to anybody. No.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about this season, though, in terms of advantages? Because that's been a lot of the backlash on the season. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I don't really know because I didn't really get to be a part of any of them. And I didn't really have to think on them too much. The advantages that I know about, or that I didn't know about any advantages for one, but none of them affected me directly. So I don't know. I know that Survivor is always about the twists and the turns. But with that one necessarily, I don't know what they were looking to happen there because, and even for Jessica to give it to Devon just seemed like an oddball move to me in the first place. I'm like, what if her healers had pulled in Devon and now you're getting rid of the swing vote? No, I don't know. The twists were very interesting. But it's Survivor, so I can't really knock it because that's what makes it interesting because, even a lot of people say that, there's too many, but I don't know, it makes it interesting, it makes it fun.
Yeah, each season's a little bit different with it.
Yeah. I think it's funny because so many people were upset about Ben winning because they thought all these idols were just handed to him. But now I kind of wish Patrick made it to the final 5 because Patrick would have been harassing him the whole time, it sounds like.
Well, not to think he probably would not have won because Patrick, every time he would have gone somewhere, he would be like, okay, where's your idol? Or he would have just followed. That would have been perfect. Just keep Patrick around to follow Ben.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought it was interesting too, like at the merge, like they all called out Cole as having that idol. And it was like, what is this really doing to benefit your game? Because now Cole can just sit there and be like, yeah, I have the idol. Like, what are you going to do about it? Like, there were so many things that were questionable, and Joe said it, and Joe was like, man, I'll tell you. I think Joe said he's like the biggest fan, but he was like, man, this season, not the best gameplay. And like, I think it was interesting because like the people who I thought were going to win, you, Jessica, both go before we even hit the jury phase. And it was like, well, what's going on? Like,
I don't know either. I was shocked.
Yeah. I mean, crazy stuff. I mean, and then what was like, if Jessica were to play again, because you got to like talk to her for like 3 weeks, if Jessica were to play it again and she doesn't have Cole, is Jessica somebody who can win this game? Did Cole like really blow her up, you think?
I don't know if Cole blew up her game. I would like to see, because I'm trying to think Jessica alone. I think that she could build relationships. I think that she would do well, but would she win? I don't know. That's a question. I think she can go far. And I think that she would definitely have a better chance by herself. But even her going home, it still does, it's like her name was just picked because they didn't think she had an idol, and so even there, that's why I can't say Cole was her downfall, because I don't think that the people who voted for her out really cared that much about her relationship with Cole. Because why wouldn't Cole have gone then?
No, it's true. It's interesting that the merge now has turned into like, it was like Michelle, Schubert, and then it was Haley, and then it's Jessica. It's just like, let's vote out the girl that we don't think found an idol. So like that tells you if you play again, go and look for an idol, because they might just be coming for you thinking that one of the louder guys has an. It's crazy that that's the assumption every time. Well, I mean, one of these times is going to bite everybody.
And that's what it is in the game. To say without saying, like we had said before about, women look like to be playing the guys, people aren't as afraid of women, but they are at the same time. So it's like they don't think women, can find idols, or women can, they're not as threatening. But then again, you go and vote us out because, we seem to do better socially, or I don't know. I don't get it. It's a, double-edged sword. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe. And also, like you said, people weren't really afraid of them as a couple. And Phil and I had kind of said that, like, right when the cast was announced, like, normally a showmance or any kind of coupling is so scary and people want to get rid of them immediately. But there was kind of, from what we saw, no immediate need to get rid of them.
Well, and I guess you can kind of compare that to, like, how we were at the Hustlers. Like you said, with Ryan and Devon being close. I mean, I think we knew that they were close, but there was not even a threat there. It was too early, And so even, I think, because people didn't even get the chance to get out Jessica and Cole till the merge. They never went to tribal. So for us to say that it's like because there wasn't a chance, who knows? Maybe one of them would have gone home if they would have gone to a tribal. But because they didn't till the merge, it's interesting.
And then speaking of showmances, and I know you didn't get to play with Ashley, but you knew JP. Were JP and Ashley in a showmance, or was Alan just like screaming at things?
They were not in a showmance. Okay. I would say that Ashley and Devon were more in a showmance than Ashley and JP. Yeah.
And that's what it seemed like. It was so weird that was like our whole storyline pre-merge, like on that hero tribe. It was like, look at Ashley and JP, they're in a showmance. And then it was like, never bring it up again. Don't talk about it ever again.
Which was weird because for them to get to the merge and for them to appear so close, once they were at the merge, it was like they didn't even talk. Like it was like they didn't even know each other. So I don't know why it appeared that they were all that close when it was not like that at all.
Yeah. Well, that's why I thought it was so funny because, like, I think they made eye contact and then Alan just assumed that they were in this, like, super power couple. And then, like, a couple episodes later, Ashley just spends the entire episode, like, gushing about how cute JP is, but they still never talk the entire time. I thought it was super funny.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if they just made it seem, I don't know. I have no idea.
Just wanted to give us some JP material.
Or make it seem like Alan was actually onto something.
Yeah, just to have him get blown away by Joe. Maybe make Joe look better. Who knows? I don't even know.
I don't know.
Yeah. So I guess because you spent so much time with Alan, did he actually, like, did he ever tell you, did he actually think that there's something there, or was he just trying to blow the whole thing up?
He never thought that Joe had an idol. He never even assumed that. Oh, you're talking about the Ashley and JP thing.
Well, that one too. Either way.
Yeah, that as well.
Yeah. So I don't know. He never really talked about the Ashley and JP thing. That's why when I saw the show, I had no idea about it. You know, I just knew that he was skeptical about JP having an idol, and I had heard about a strip search from Chrissy, but I had never got any idea that JP and Ashley were even close. But yeah, and then even going back to the other thing with the Joe, he had no idea Joe had an idol. I don't even know if he was, thinking that that was a possibility. And so, having that be even a 2-2 vote, that, he had no idea.
Yeah, it seemed like Alan definitely lost it as soon as he stepped on that island. And it was like, he was just so aggressive and paranoid the whole time that it just couldn't work.
It was awesome. It was so awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really funny because the all the people who went pre-merge. You have Simone, who we didn't really get to know, Katrina, who we didn't really get to know. Then you have Patrick and Alan, who just seemed bonkers out there, and then you have you and Jessica, who seemed totally normal. And it was funny how it just seemed like there was it didn't matter the way you played the game. You anybody was fair game in this in that pre-merge, where normally there's a trend. I mean, even if Millennials versus Gen X, it was just women was the trend. There's somewhat of a trend normally in the seasons, and this one it just seemed like everybody was playing a different version of the game.
Yeah, it was just completely random. I don't know. I mean, the flow of the game was just way different, I think, than any other season, and so it didn't matter who you were or what was going on. It could be you at any moment.
Were you
what did you go sorry. Alexa, go for
I'm
it.
sorry,
go
Phil,
ahead.
we're calling it at the same time. Were you happy, or were you happy with how you were portrayed throughout the show, or do you wish there were parts of you that we got to see more, parts of you that we got to see less?
No, I think that I was pretty happy with the way they portrayed me. For the most part, it was pretty spot on. And I went into the show knowing that it was a show and that it's, on TV to entertain people. But I also knew that I wanted to completely be myself, and I didn't want to give the show anything that wasn't me or anything they could use that would make it seem like that wasn't me. So there's times where, people will come off the show and be like, oh, well, and they made me look like this, but I'm like, that's what you gave them. That's you, they're going to use what you give them. And so I was, very much just like how I am now, so very much in my own skin. I wanted to, be personable to people. And I think that's one thing they don't show as much, but obviously it's just for time. But it's, these relationships you build, even though it is a few days, they become real. You talk about life, you talk about everything. And that's kind of what I went into the game knowing that I was going to use. I was just going to be a listening ear and talk to people and, talk about life. And, but yeah, I think that kind of piggybacked off of what they showed of me, that, the reason why is everybody talking to Allie? It's just because I wanted to be that person that everyone felt that they could go to.
And here I am thinking it's because you're the winner. I was like, that's the winner's edit. There it is. And then and then they had the preview of you crying. I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. Here we go.
It was hilarious, right? I was like, I knew I didn't want to come here and cry.
Oh my God.
It was rough. It was a couple days rough.
Oh God. Well, what I was going to ask is, you're a fan of the show. What did you think of this Final Four twist and the fact that it's probably here to stay? What was your opinion on that? And I'm sure you didn't know about it until, later.
No, I had no idea. I actually liked it because I wanted that to be the outcome of the game. But looking at it now, I just wish that it would have been announced before the game had started. I wish that because it would have looked better in regards to how the game turned out. It would have looked like, okay, this is what it was planned. And I like that aspect because I'm like, before I went on the show, what do you practice doing? Making fire, and it's a lot of times, even when we got our first fire, yeah, I was helping, but I never had to do it myself. Yeah, there's a group of us that, that we're putting all of our skills together to make this fire. But the show is about surviving, and to survive, you have fire. And so I like it. I like the aspect. I think that it gives you, like people in Ben's situation, it gives you a chance to make it to the end if you don't have the vote, and it gives you a chance to show that, I can survive. And I think that, it would have looked better if it was announced at the beginning of the season, but I hope that it stays, because if I get to the Final Four and I have to make fire and I lose, that's my own fault. It's nobody else's, you know.
Yeah, and it seems like I think that if they do it next season, they probably would announce it at the beginning. It's just like this season seemed to be full of like just surprises. Like here you go, here's something new, here's something different.
What I don't think people liked. I think that and I know that Jeff says always there's going to be twists and turns and whatever, but I think that we appreciate it when we are, you know, in tune before, because it makes it seem like this is supposed to happen, not just you're trying to switch up the game for TV, or you're trying to make things more interesting in the moment that could end up screwing over. So I don't know. I like it when it's all shown out so the viewer knows what's happening and it doesn't just seem like you're throwing stuff in there randomly to mess with the game.
That makes sense. Yeah. And because this was a really good cast. And I think we talked about that before the season. Like this is, oh my God, you have this, and you had so many different types of characters. I mean, even if you just look at that final five, you had Mike, Ryan, you know, Ben and Devon and Chrissy. Like the five of them are so different from each other, but it's great. Like that's what you want to see. Yeah. But it was like, how did they all get there? And it was like, well, Chrissy and Ryan literally bonded because of this idol that had never been done before, and it's just being handed to a different tribe. And so did Devon. Yeah, exactly. That's crazy.
Devon. Yep. I should have stayed on the boat and made my tribe starve. That's what I should.
Exactly. That's it. Well, I think Joe had said that. I think Joe had said like pretty much everybody jumped in the water except for like him, Ryan, and like one other person, and it was like, guys, there's got to be something up here.
Yeah.
Like,
Dr. Mike. Yeah, I think it's Dr. Mike.
I think everybody did, or what I did. I did like a 10-second scan, and then I was like, well, I'm not a very good swimmer. I got to get over.
Yeah. I think that's probably why Joe stayed, because he couldn't swim, right?
Yeah, I mean, right?
Yeah. It's like, I'll have this advantage, but I can't go anywhere with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, gosh.
That's funny. So what would you have done? What would you have done differently then? Because what next time you play again, what are you going to do differently?
What would I do differently? You think I would know this by now?
Right? Come on.
I mean, if I play again, I'm not going to trust anybody. I think that's my downfall. But it's like you're still going to have to trust somebody a little bit. That's why I'm like, can that really be what I change? Is that really my regret? Like trusting Ryan? Why wouldn't I have trusted Ryan? You know, so I don't know. I think maybe looking at the game, if I ever were to play again, I would be looking at the game as though I was already looking at it hindsight. So like I said, where I got like little hints and clues where I thought that's weird, I will read more into those rather than just being like, okay, no, this is what we agreed on and this is what we're sticking with. So I think that I think that I played the best social game that I could have played, but I would probably try and think more strategically. And I'm going to try and get over my fear of the dark, because seen Ben find all those idols, I looked, but I'm scared of the dark. And I did not want people knowing that if I had any chance of staying, that, you know, if I had an idol, they'd vote me out. You know, I'm like, I tried to go in the dark and I was just too deathly afraid. So that's the next thing. I'm going to try and fix my vision so I can see in the dark.
There you go. I like that. I like that. Just have the camera guys follow you around in case there's anything like following.
Well, and that's what I had happen. I was like, because obviously they follow you, and every now and then, like if they see something, they'll like flash a slide or whatever, like this red light. I'm like, hey, can you flash the light? And they're like, no. I'm like, come on, help me out. They're like, no, I can't. Really? That's why.
You're supposed to be talking to me. Like,
I don't exist.
Oh gosh, we hear that all the time. But like, when you're like viewing the camera like in night vision, it looks like Ben can just like see in the dark. But I'm like, when I'm out there, I'm like, I know he can't see, but he's just like looking like, I don't know what he's looking at. He must have night vision. I don't know.
That's gotta be it. That's what I want.
That's what I want. He can see in the dark.
There you go. We figured it out. So everybody who is wondering, there you go. Yep. And I think that's a worthy winner then. If you can see in the dark, that's worthy of winning.
Definitely. No, but I think that's the next thing. I would definitely say that I would do whatever I could to find an idol, because I thought that I looked, but I did not look how he looked. I did not.
Yeah, and that seems to be like the trend. Like everybody thinks, oh, they found the idol so easily, but it seems like the people who find the idols are looking so hard. I mean, Joe said he would go out there and just look and look and look nonstop.
Well, and then that's also, you know, Joe was on everybody's radar. If they were going to throw a challenge, they were going to vote out Joe, you know, and so for me, I even had heard from production like after the show that at one point without it, because nobody found the clue at Yawa. No, I still have no idea where the clue is at Yawa. But at one point there was a drone hovering over me, and every time I would go to the well, I was like, it's got to be by the well, because I had just seen Game Changers where Ty found it by the well, and I was like, it's got to be by the well. And so I'm digging by the well, which is where it ended up being. And so I guess the drone was hovering over me while I'm digging in the spot of the idol. I just didn't dig deep enough.
Oh my God. And that's the other thing that Joe said. He said, once you find one, you realize like I know how deep this is. Like if I think it's here, I just got to keep going.
Yeah.
But if you're not looking for it, if you've never found it,
I'm like, how would I have known? You know, I'm just digging, thinking I got to hurry up and dig. And then I'm like, I don't know how deep it's going to be. Who knows?
Yeah.
Right?
God, it could have changed.
Yeah. I just love the camera drone like creeping on you. Because I've heard in the past that sometimes survivors will kind of play with the cameraman to kind of see where an idol is. And I'm just envisioning you like ripping through the sand and this drone is just like staring at you the whole time.
Well, and if only I would have like, because when I heard about it from production afterwards, like I'm like, if only people would have been like running into me, like because those camera guys, they run. Like if they know something's going on, they run. And so if only I like would have seen a camera guy running after me, I'd be like, all right, it's here. I'm gonna stay. But you know, that's one thing you do every time, like whether we're going to the bathroom and like sneak away, because like sometimes when you say, oh, I'm going to the bathroom, they obviously leave you alone. But sometimes I just like walk over to see like, is someone gonna follow me? You know, to see like you try to get any hints, which obviously doesn't help because they're always gonna follow you. So whether you're going towards an idol or not. So, but you definitely out there, your brain just runs wild and you think about anything and everything, and you know, it's a lot.
And I think it was like Boston Rob, like one of the last times he played, where he would just be like, "Come on, guys, come on, we're going running for looking for an idol," and it's like he's sprinting towards where they know it is, and you see the camera guy like chasing after him. So like that gives you a pretty good idea, like, hey, I'm on to something here.
Yeah, definitely. I wish.
The drone could have been anyone, you know.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I probably didn't even know it was hovering over me.
God, now they have drones. I think about like what the first season of Survivor, they had like 3 camera guys out on the island. Now they have drones. Like,
it's wild. I mean, and that's one thing that I'm like, I applaud them because they are there 24 hours, and at times we are doing nothing, literally nothing. And I'm like, this guy is, you know, and then they, you know, if we're talking about other stuff or if we're singing songs, they absolutely despise it because they're like, then they can't use that, you know. So I'm like getting yelled at, like I'm like, so the only song I would ever sing was the Survivor theme song because I was like, you have rights to that one.
That is so funny. That's a way to get them off your tail. Just start singing.
I was like, hey, yeah. And they were like, no, please. I'm like, that's allowed.
Like, that's what you get. That's what you get.
Right.
That's really fun. Who was the best singer on the original Hustler Tribe? That's an important question.
The original Hustler Tribe, the best singer. I think Ryan would say it was Ryan. But I would say it was me. Probably just because I did the most singing. I don't even think that my tribe cared that my sister must be watching the national championship or something happened.
I thought your sister was telling you who the best singer was.
I thought she was singing.
No, she's like spazzing out over here. Okay, calm down.
Well, can I spoil? I'll spoil it for everybody if that's what we want.
Oh,
I would like to know. I'm not watching.
What's happening? I would like to know.
I think Alabama just scored with 3 seconds left in the game to tie it.
Who scored? Alabama?
No.
Yeah, they.
Oh, she's so far behind.
Spoiler.
It missed it. 3 seconds left, so they're going to overtime.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
We're on Hulu TV, so we're like 20 minutes behind.
Oh, I won't say anything then, and anybody else who's behind. But Allie, if you do want to know, or Alexa, do you want to know? Because I just saw it happen.
Wait, is it in overtime?
It's about to go to overtime. The guy from Alabama just missed a field goal to take the.
Oh yeah, that's what she just said. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so they're not that far behind.
No, we're not.
Yeah. This podcast is not sponsored by Hulu TV.
Yeah, exactly. Or the NCAA or ESPN. We don't have any of that.
Yeah, rights to marks and yada yada yada.
Who do you root for in this game, Allie? Like what
neither. Can they just both lose? No, I'm voting for Georgia because I can't. It's in my blood. I'm not even allowed to vote for Bama, whether they're, you know.
Exactly.
And who wants to see them win again?
No one. No one.
No one.
Probably only Nick Saban. That's about it.
God.
And I think Vaughn, who I don't know if you've ever seen Vaughn, but he comes on every now and then. I think he's like a Bama guy.
No, like why?
No, none of that.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Oh, well, now that we got that sidetracked. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
we talk
we
about
always
college
wanna-
football all the time because, like, we
Sorry,
went to
she's
Miami.
like spazzing out over here.
I,
Well, and she went to Florida, so we both want Georgia to win. So.
Oh,
God.
man.
Yeah.
Oh,
poor
that's
girl, though.
upsetting.
She went to Florida.
Right.
That's terrible.
Oh. That's no good.
Yeah, I'm sure she's great.
She's all right.
Yeah. She was better before you said she went to Florida. I mean, I just can't get it out of my head.
No, yeah, she would have been my family visit. She's a lot of fun, but going to Florida, that's a bad idea.
That's a terrible idea. Speaking of the family visit, I guess we can throw this out there. People, you didn't make it to the family visit, but people always like make fun of how everybody reacts at the family visits. You were out there for like, how many days were you out there for? 14, 15? 16. Okay. So you're out there for 16 days. If your sister would have came out on day 16, would you have like completely lost it? Like, do people just not understand the emotional toll that like goes on and like why people really break down every time a family member comes out?
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's why I picked my sister, because I knew it would have been an emotional thing because me and my sister are really, really close. And so that was one thing that I think there's even like a secret scene of me talking about like my family, and like in the days where you're down, where I knew that I was down and out, it gets rough because even though, and I was always on really small tribes. I mean, that's why I wish we would have started on 2 tribes, but to start with 3, you're automatic. As soon as you vote one person out, there's only 5 of you, so you're a small tribe. And so even though there's still 5 of you, it is lonely. You get lonely and you start to think about your family. And that's one thing that is, because you're out there, which seems like it's only 16 days, it's a lot longer than 60 days because, whether you're sleeping at night or you're not, your mind is constantly, wandering. And there was times I was out there where I would go through a whole day and not even think about my family. So it made me feel guilty because I was so consumed in the game that I was like, I'm not thinking about what they're doing or how they are, and because they are my backbone, I felt bad, I'm like, I need to be thinking about them and just, whatever, but you don't want to disconnect from the game. You don't want to have those emotions because then you're weak and, whatever. But I do think that if I would have seen my sister on day 16, I would have probably reacted like if I saw her on day 40, because especially how my game was going, if I saw her on day 16, I was by myself the last 3 days where I was trying to dig myself out, and, you feel alone and you feel like it's more than just a game. You feel like, even though these people aren't attacking you personally, you think that things are personal, and you think that, being turned on is a personal thing when, it's not. Everybody's in the game to get, to just get further. But those family visits are really real. And I think that, even seeing my family after being gone for 8 weeks, we all bawled in the airport, because I talk to my mom every single day. I talk to my sister probably every single day. And it's just one of those things that it's not an experience everybody gets to say they do. So there's so much emotion behind it because you're like, I'm living this dream. I'm doing what I wanted to do, but I'm also having to sacrifice not only just food and comfort, but also not seeing my family. And they don't get to live that experience with you really at all unless you do make it to the family visit, and that's a day. So I don't think that a lot of people take into account like how emotional this show actually is.
Well, because I have like so many friends and like other family members who are like, oh my God, I've gone 30 days without seeing people. And I'm like, yeah, but were you surrounded by people who were lying to you? And were you not eating? And did you realize that like nobody around you was actually your friend? And
like I went to Auburn, Alabama for college. I was gone for months at a time. Sometimes I wouldn't see my family for 6 months, but we still have FaceTime and, we have iPhones and you can talk every day and you can text every day, where when you're completely stranded, I mean, even when we get off, like where I had to go 3 weeks in Australia, we still didn't get to talk to our family. We still didn't get to talk to anybody. So it is, you wouldn't think that. I never thought that it would be, and I don't think I struggled. I don't think I could definitely go the whole way, but it does, it is an emotional experience. And that's one thing, in the airport, we just sat there and bawled because my mom, my mom's like every day she's like looking at the weather, like, is it raining? Is she cold? Is she sick? Is she hungry? Are people?
Oh my gosh.
And so for her, I think it was harder on her than it was for me.
Wow. So did you find it difficult or like disarming to go back to your normal life and just to go back to like eating and sleeping and working and talking to friends who didn't want to vote you out of their life like after the show, or was it kind of easy?
I mean, because I had the post-merge or the pre-merge trip, I don't think it was difficult at all. Like, I can imagine being Ben and Chrissy and Ryan and getting home, or you have one day in Ponderosa and then going home. I couldn't imagine, and I hope one day I'll imagine that. But I couldn't imagine, like, with my experience, like, we hung out for 3 weeks in Australia. We got to see people with phones. We didn't have phones. But we were kind of back in the real world. And so when we finally went home, it was kind of like, it wasn't too bad, but it was weird being in Australia because you're like, okay, well, now what am I doing here? I was just trying to win $1 million, and now I'm just trying to, I don't know. I'm the hottest Australian.
There you go. That's a plan.
There you go.
Too.
Do what you gotta do.
They all have those accents, so they're all hot. It doesn't even
matter.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter.
Oh my God. So like with Ryan, Chrissy, and Ben, like you just said, like they get like one day at Ponderosa, then they're coming right back home. Also, like I think with the three of them, what they've dealt with like after the season, just like the fan reaction has been insane towards
all
them.
of them.
God.
And I don't understand. Like I don't understand. I don't know what the show. A lot of what the show, I feel bad because I'm like, you're on the show to win $1 million, and that's what it is. And so I hate the hate. I hate it for what anybody ever does. It's a game, and so for people to be just torn into, I'm like, I can't, I don't know. And luckily for me, I didn't get much hate, and I don't know whether it was just my edit or just because, it looked like I was robbed or whatever, but I didn't have to experience as much as they're going through. And hopefully they're strong in themselves, because if you don't have, strength and your self-awareness, then you can be really torn down by a lot of stuff that's being said about you.
Yeah, and like I know, especially like with Ryan, like he's a huge fan of the show. Like I'm sure he's wanted to be in the community for how long, Yeah. I mean, and then all of a sudden, like the show ends, and it's like, just like, my God, like people have such a hard time realizing like it's a TV show. Like, come on, like
he's a person. Like, just let it.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't even know like what it's about. Like, why are they so upset about it? If it's about, me, or if it's about other people being voted out. Like, if we obviously are still friends with these people, they can get over it if we've gotten over it,
Right?
It's amazing how hard that is to grasp for some people.
I don't get it. It's sad, but hopefully, they're staying off social media, or, they're happy with who they are.
It's like Ben can't even like enjoy his win. Like he can't even just like be excited about his win, and like
I don't know what people wanted from it though. I'm like, what was their happy ending? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, whoever wins in that final three, somebody's gonna be angry, or there's just gonna be, I don't know. It's crazy. I mean, and by the way, Bama did just win. So
my
sister. Now we can all be.
There it is.
The worst.
And like kind of going off of that, like you guys had a pretty tight cast. Like at least like your kind of group, like you guys seem like you're super close. So I feel like that kind of wasn't really the case in earlier seasons. So
I mean, I wouldn't say I didn't like anyone on our cast. Everybody's great. That's why I don't understand why there's so much hate when there's so much love for some people, but so much hate for the other. But I'm like, we all like each other. So why does there have to be hate from the outside if there's no hate on the inside?
Yeah, wow. Exactly. And that was like, that's like, well, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's so interesting though. Like you go to the Survivor, like when I went to like the after party, it's like you go there and like I don't know any of you, so I'm just walking into this room like knowing like my friends, and I like look and I'm like, oh, I wouldn't expect like Allie and Ryan to talk to each other. Oh, look, Roark and Ryan just talk to each other. Like I'm like it just like, and then you like look online and it's like I'm defending Roark. It's like I'm pretty sure Roark's over it. Like I'm pretty sure good. Like, pretty sure Allie's all good. Pretty sure, like, everybody's getting over it. Like, Joe, like, I don't feel like Joe holds a hard feeling on anybody. And it's like, that was a guy who got so much hate.
Exactly. And I'm like, what's the point of, holding, like, I'm all about that person that's just like, what's done is done. It is over. We cannot change it. You did what you thought was best for you. I did what I thought was best for me, and we can move on with our lives.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. Exactly. Shouldn't be that tough.
Shouldn't, but
All right, so we're coming. What are we up to? Almost like an hour and 40.
No, we're getting close to 2 hours. Yeah.
Are we really? Look at that. Time flies, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Allie, how hard would it be to drag you back out onto the island to play again?
Not really hard. I would play again as quickly as possible. I am all for it. I love the show. I love the game. And I love how it's like ever changing, even though it's always the same. It's like, I don't know. I definitely would love to play again. I would just hope that I started on 2 tribes. I feel like I could hide a little bit on 2 tribes. On 3 tribes, I can't really hide. And it's not like I need to hide. I'm not going to be that person, but it's just, I feel like it makes it easier.
It's really hard to go from 3 tribes of 6 to 3 tribes of 5 because it's like,
I hated that.
Because it's like, oh my God, now there's only 5 of us, and I need to make relationships with these people, and they've already judged me based on what we've done in the first 9 days. Like, I could see where that would be like insane. Like, you want the 2 tribes after the 3 tribes start.
I never got to be on like a tribe. Like, I was voted out by 3 people. Like, I never got to be on a big tribe. I never got to, and of course, because I was 1 away from the merge. But I wish I could have experienced that. I wish that it would have been a 2 tribe swap. We should have voted out 1 more person and then gotten to a 2 tribe swap. It would have been a completely different game. But I think it would have been. We might have been able to see more characters because, having those 3 tribes again, you're still separating your time between 3 tribes. And so, like, you maybe would have seen more of Roark, or you would have seen, there was these characters that you would have got more from just because there was more of us on one island where they weren't having to jump all over the place.
Well, and what was tough too is I love starting with 3 tribes. I think it's so much more entertaining. I think they should start with 3 tribes like every season just because it's better. But then when you go to 3 tribes of 5, after tribes have already gone to tribal council and everything, by going to 3 tribes of 5, you make it hard because it's like, here's a tribe that just didn't go to tribal, and there were already 3 people on it who didn't go to tribal. So, like, what do we really know about Cole, Jessica, and Mike? I thought I knew so much about Jessica. What I didn't know is that she was going to be the merge boot. Like,
No, I agree. I think that, it's a very true statement. Like, me having to go to all these tribals, and then, I had to go to 2 tribals for each tribe. Like, if we wouldn't cut down into 2 different tribes, then that is true. There's more likely chance that people who didn't end up going to tribal, did, because that second Yawa tribe, they were never getting beat. Just like the first healer tribe was never getting beat, and so, and I don't know. I wonder, I haven't really talked to Jessica about that, having to have gone the whole game and never go to a tribal and then just going home. Like, I can imagine doing that. I'm glad. I'm like, I would rather go to all the tribals than not go to any,
Yeah. Well, because that happens a lot where somebody like Nick Mariano did it in Korong, where it was like, didn't go to a single tribal, who hits first tribal, goes home. And it's like, didn't even get really a chance to play the game. I was out here for however many days, but I didn't really do anything.
Yeah. Well, and like, same with like a lot. I mean, I think, was it everybody on the pre-merge? I was the only one that survived a tribal? Oh, no.
Alan survived one, too.
And Patrick
Alan survived one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah. So there were a couple, but.
Yeah.
Nobody survived 3.
No. And with Roark and Jessica, they were never on the same side of a vote. And so that's what I was saying a lot with, even people are like, oh, well, why would you go with the healers? Why would you go with the healers? But I'm like, they still don't know who they can trust. They've never been a tribal. And that was my whole theory. I'm like, you don't know who you can trust until you're on the same side of a vote with somebody, because, just because you guys claim you like each other, that means nothing,
Right. Yeah, and that's what I was kind of saying with Mike. Is he never had a chance to even get his footing because he never went to a tribal, and then the first tribal he goes to, one of his allies goes home, and he never has a chance to even prove himself. Yeah. Because and fans are watching like, what did Mike do? And it's like, what could Mike have done? He won every challenge. He didn't do anything wrong pre-merge.
Yeah, and it's crazy that you don't think about that. Like, in the moment, like, all the healers are like, we just wanted to win. That was all we wanted to do, was win. When you think about it, like, that's not really the best strategy looking back. You know, you would think that it was. You don't want to go to tribal, but looking back, it's like you could have actually switched things up if you did.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have bettered their chances for the further of the game, which is crazy. You know?
Considering the healers are the first tribe to get decimated when they had all 6 of them at the merge.
Oh, crazy.
Or all 5 of the 6 because Roark was gone. But yeah, still.
They still could have stayed.
Yeah.
On about this all day.
I could tell. Well, Alexa, what else do you have, Alexa? Because we're almost at the 2 hours, so that's like normally where we like try to somewhat cap it, you know.
I know. Well, we usually cap it off with "Would you return?" But it sounds like you've answered that for us. We're just gonna have to work on the nightlight. You're gonna have to turn off your nightlight.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to just start walking outside. I'm gonna start walking outside in the dark and like trying to find things. I'm gonna have my friends go out and like do a scavenger hunt in the dark. That's smart, right?
There you go. Yeah, why not? I mean, especially around LA, what could go wrong?
Yeah, that sounds safe.
I'm scared of walking outside. That would never happen.
Yeah, nothing could go wrong here.
But yeah, I would definitely play again. I'm just interested that like if I were to ever play again, like would it be a fans versus favorites, or would it be like a second chances, or would it be, you know, because I'm like obsessed with Survivor, I'm always thinking about like what I would do next, you know, or like how I would play differently. But that's the thing that's so crazy is that you have no idea because you can never know who you're going to be playing with, and that that's all that the game is, you know.
Yeah, that's a good question. Would you rather be a favorite on a fans vs favorites season, or would you rather be voted in as a second chance?
I've thought about this. I think that I would rather do fans versus favorites.
Okay. Because you have the opportunity over half the cast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some people that I've already played, so I might, you know, have a better chance. Because if you're playing with all returnees, you gotta step your game up. So.
Yeah, for sure. I always like laugh. I'm like, oh man, if I was on like a fans versus favorites and like some of the people that like we've had on the podcast were on there, like that'd be so much fun. I'm like, they would wipe the floor with me. Like it'd be a show.
You know, even me saying that I've already played once, I'd have to step my game up. I'm like, every time is different. So I don't think that even playing again with people who have never played is even an advantage. I mean, maybe it is when it comes to, you know, having to sleep with the bugs or not eat. But I'm like, other than that, the game is the game, and it's all depends on who's, you know, playing with you. I think that's the crazy thing is that you could play the game 100 times, but it just matters with who's playing with you and how they're thinking. So
hey, Francesca said I'd never get voted out first again, and then she shows up on an island and it's Philip all over again. Like, what can you do? Like, you can't do anything about it.
I can't imagine that. I cannot imagine that.
Elliott Patrick 2.0.
Let's do it again. Yeah. Oh God! Did we just get casting an idea, and Allie was not a fan?
No, that I'm not a fan again. Don't do it.
They're twirling their mustaches right now.
No.
I mean, I don't know. My only memory of Patrick is he gave me the flu. So I met Patrick and I got the flu from him. So that's it.
We all did. I'm still coughing.
Are you? Yeah. Joe was sick. I was sick. We all got sick.
Oh yeah, it was the worst.
What you guys are doing at this party?
But I do want to pitch. If anybody from like production is watching, I would love to see a season, and just listen to me, guys, where we start and we're all individual. So we start merged, and then eventually, like after like what three votes, then we break into 2 tribes. But I would want to start merged, and whether we do like what is it, playground pick or whatever. For teams, or if we even just compete individually. And so we all go to a tribal together and vote somebody out. Would that be interesting?
I think that'd be cool. And they did it in Palau.
I mean, it's just something they haven't done. I'm like,
yeah.
Because that way people can see, you know, from the beginning of the game if they can compete by themselves. Because that's one thing that I didn't get to see. If I could do a challenge by myself because I was voted out before the merge, you know?
Yeah. And that's
a cool idea.
They've played with the idea. They had Palau where everybody started individually, but then they just got 2 people out really for no reason. And then you also had, I think One World was like kind of that same idea. I wish One World would have been, you know, like don't put them in tribes, but, you know, have everybody live together. But it's definitely a cool idea. I mean, I'd watch it.
I mean, I think it would be a lot of people, and I think you would have to work a little bit harder. And even for cameras, it would be a lot. But I think it'd be interesting. It'd be something different.
Yeah, definitely.
I like it.
I'd want to do it.
There you
Yeah,
go.
we'll at CBS when we post this.
Perfect.
We'll cut out all the bad things you said earlier. It's like it never happened.
Yeah, we'll like kind of blur it out and then like recut.
Yeah. Sure you didn't. No.
Yeah, Big Brother's watching you in that drone.
God.
Yeah. All right, Allie, well, what's your parting words? You have parting words? I love putting everybody on the spot with this, and then it's always like,
give us something good.
I mean, I think my parting words are what I've told everyone is that the show is amazing, and everyone who's ever thought they would ever want to play the show, because I know that it's not as easy as it sounds. I mean, obviously people, apply 16 years and they never get to go on, but if you've been pondering and think that, it's something you would ever want to do, for me, it was nowhere near as hard as I thought it was going to be, just environmentally. I thought that it was going to be difficult, but of course, we had amazing weather, and, I tend to diet all the time, so the eating gets easy, so it's just, I don't know. It's something that I would tell everybody, if you can apply every year, you can, because it's just that fun. It's that amazing. It's an experience that you'll never have anywhere else. And to just do it, because even though I know there's a lot of people out there that oh, I couldn't do it, I didn't think I could do it, but I guess only made it so far. But it's I think it's bigger than that. It's bigger than this, just the game. I think people just need to do it to say, just have that experience, because it is an amazing one.
Well, I'll go make my audition tape now. Thanks.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go home and go do this at 12:30 in the morning.
I mean,
I like how Alexa's gonna go home. Like, where are you?
Yeah,
I know.
Like, I found someone's bedroom to sit in for 2 hours.
What?
Like, wow, I'm in my office, right?
Yeah, right. My God. Well, I mean, I think that's a good way to end it. I mean, we pretty much hit 2 hours. I think that's a good way to end it. Allie, this was great. This was really good to get to talk to you, and
yeah, this was fun.
It was. And Alexa, I guess if you want to close us on out, and then.
All right, I'll wrap it up. So, give us a follow on Twitter at Survivor Specialist. We're going to tweet this video out a couple times the next few days, so that production can see a new concept for season 39 or season 40. But in the meantime, give us a like on Facebook. On YouTube, we're actually really close to 3,000 subscribers. We're at a little over 2,900. So hit that subscribe button on YouTube, because that's a pretty big milestone for us. We'll hopefully be back sometime soon. But in the meantime, have a great night and make those audition videos.
There you go.
Bye-bye.